we were kind of like, hey, how you doing? How you doing? How you doing? And like, all I can ever really get out right now is I just am right now. Mm-hmm. The reason the reason why we had to take a mental health, break for the past couple weeks was due to What's up, peoples? It's your bartenders, Mr. Z.
And your boy, Omega.
So we are back. We seem to have modeled this week's topic, mental health breaks. Our returning patron, Carmichael Simon, graces us with his wisdom and knowledge while we explore this topic through Simone Biles, our own past needs, and our present experiences. As every episode, we want to thank all of you for listening. We truly appreciate you listening to our hearts and minds on varied and difficult topics.
Special thank you goes out to our Patreon subscribers for their support of the show. Every little bit helps us reach our goals to invite more high-profile guests and create bonus content.
And if you want to join in our conversation outside of this cast, feel free to hit us up on Twitter or Instagram at HaveADrinkCast, and make sure to use that hashtag HADcast.
Remember, this is always a conversation. If you don't agree, you want to voice your opinions, or even suggest a topic for an episode, feel free to join our Discord as well. The link will be in the description.
And please, if you like what we're doing here, share us with your friends, your family, your neighbors. Hey, create your own HADcast D&D campaign where all the monsters and quests are linked to our hearts and minds. Wait, didn't we do this one before? Oh, okay. Well, your referrals mean a lot to us, as that's how we gain more listeners. So,
thank you again.
And get prepared to sit,
think,
and have a drink. Welcome to the Have a Drink podcast.
Enjoy the episode.
We said peace. What's up, peoples, and welcome back to another episode of the Have a Drink podcast, where we invite you to sit, think, and have a drink. We're your bartenders, Mr. Z.
And I'm your boy, Omega.
Hey, and coming to you at the bar is our returning special guest, Carmichael Simon. Hey, what's up, kid?
What's happening, family? Hey, how you guys doing?
Doing good.
Hey.
This isn't nutritious, by the way. This is a hollow drink.
Oh.
So people from the Bay Area or straight from the PI, some hollow right here in this cup.
Oh. All right.
Some ube ice cream.
Ooh.
Love it.
That just sounds like a painful time in the bathroom for me. Lactose intolerance.
How you guys been?
I'm great, man. Great. It's been a blessing. How about yourself?
Doing good, man. Just living the Freon, staying in the AC, in the car, in the car, and at home, at the office. It's nice. Things are opening back up, and people are moving around, and there's nothing like seeing people and being around live people again. And getting energy again, which is necessary. Just to maintain sanity, bro. So
absolutely
nice. How about you all?
Well, life has been great, man. It's just been nonstop. Been traveling as of right now, as you guys can tell. Not at home because I would have a green screen as well. But I'm back in Connecticut, actually for my last trip. It's my last show with Bellator for a little bit due to obviously work is restarting again. I know you guys are like, what do you mean? Aren't you working? Yes. Well, you guys know I'm a teacher, so school starts this week, so I'll be back to school. And college actually will be starting too as of next week. So everything is like coming into play all at once. So it's time to get back to reality.
Hey, there you go. I think we need a round of applause for that. Hey, great job.
That was good. Hey, you got drum kits there. Just hitting buttons off the drum kit.
Full of surprises. Got a whole new setup. Have to try out some new things. I mean, we just took a hiatus for some mental health care. Just to kind of get a break, get things back rolling. So but hey, just coming back strong.
It's important.
Man.
It's important.
Actually, that's probably the topic that we were going to chat about, right? Was about mental health.
Oof, yes.
In general, right? Is what does that mean to people? It's such a loaded word, in general, right? Is even if you try to break it down, it's like you can't really get into somebody else's brain, and even if you're a neurologist, you can't really, you can surgically understand and probe people's brains, but it's like, as they would say in the cipher world, it's like when you go ghost, you go ghost.
Right.
Yeah.
You hit that spirit, or you're at that level of enlightenment. I think we talked about it before in the past. So, high-end athletes or people at a very high level of value of society per se, how people put them on a pedestal. It's like, what does mental health mean? Because there's levels to that some people are not gifted and or have never experienced in their life. What does that mean? Because you can only translate to your own experiences. So what do y'all think about that word in general in this day and age, right? Because it's a growth of a word. It's more predominant now.
Which? Mental or health?
Both together, really, right?
Right,
Together, I think it's a combination of the word, right?
Those are two things that have had to evolve in such drastic ways in order for them to kind of evolve together. I mean, it's a very, I mean, we've kind of mentioned it in super early episodes of the podcast, but of like, how mental health has been such a taboo subject within various cultures. Being in a part of like the Black American community, you talk about mental health, or you say, you feel like you need to see a therapist or something like that. Like historically, it's been met with a lot of like negativity, shaming, shunning, kind of vilifying of somebody trying to do right by themselves. I mean, like, and as you were saying, just a second ago, especially surrounding like athletes and things like that, great segue towards, Simone Biles. Like she recently, competed in the 2021 Tokyo Olympics, and, she did the balance beam and ended up getting bronze. But that was after she opted out of competing in several events that she said she was going to compete in, and she did that for a multitude of reasons, but mainly one being overall mental health. She didn't feel like, she was in the right mental and physical space in order to be able to perform at like her peak. This kind of is like something that I've heard surrounding athletes, but there's a thing called the yips. When you fall out of flow, you're struggling to try and like stumble back into it, but you end up psyching yourself out, and you end up losing that sense of flow, and it takes a lot, because it's a lot of what that is doing is just telling you have a lot of mental strain. You have a lot of mental and or physical strain, and that if you continue in such a manner, you're going to injure yourself. So we're going to try and stop this. But, that takes having the fortitude like Simone Biles had, like of being like, hey, I'm gonna step out. Not only do I have, some, things that are distracting me that are personal and family, but like I also am realizing I'm not in the right, mental and physical state in order to compete in these things. And then she decided to come back, like when she felt ready.
Yes.
But yeah.
I mean, I think of it as, mental and health, as you noted, maybe two different words, and a juxtaposition of them being combined is, we're only talking about somebody's physical state and level of athleticism that they've trained their entire life. And a lot of people don't know the levels underneath that. You have commissions, you have governance boards, you have coaches, family members. What I mean by coaches is your current coaches, your Olympic coaches, the coaches that have raised you through your life. You got a lot of influences in your head, and especially at the age where she's at. And I can't speak for her. I can only speak for my experiences. When you're decorative, as they would say, in one thing, sort of like an astronaut, right? Is what do you do when you've hit those levels and you want to become normal? and normalize yourself. This woman is about, transitioning and soon to be, I hope, getting married and starting a family and being the person over, from what society wants to put her at that podium, at that place. And, I see it in another aspect is more around spirituality and soulfulness. The soul comes down to your will and your desires, and your emotions. And, you have to look at it from, taking gymnastics is no different than dance or performing. Your soul has to be within it. And it's very easy to judge somebody based on a mental health because they don't want to act and respond at your given will. Right? We're dealing with souls, we're dealing with a spirit, and whatever her belief system is, there's influences there that can distort and bring noise to that. And lo and behold, if you're doing 36 or 40 hours a week of training, when do you really have time outside of recovering your body to be with yourself without being influenced? And I can only, like I said, speak for myself is, moving and shifting through my life in general has really been about, when my soul wasn't with it, I even my physical was still there, my soul's not there. It's just time to move on, because passion can only lead you so far. Passion only gives you happiness, but joy, we are all here attempting to reach joy, and that joy lasts forever.
Yes.
And that's my take on, just the initial thought process as we go through this conversation.
It's just so much, man. So much.
So much to unpack. Yeah.
There is. There's the elements of how they treat athletes differently from the regular common people. How they treat women versus men, black women versus everybody, and people just thinking that they know better than people know themselves.
Yeah.
And they feel like because they can handle it in their mind, from their couch, their comfort of their own home, that that person should not have done or said or felt the way that they felt. There's so many different things to unpack with this. It's so weird, it's not weird, but it's crazy to me, to know that this young woman who was on the highest level in competition on the planet had to go through sexual assault from a coach and still had to compete, had to deal with the pressures of not only the competition, but just of everybody weighing so many things on top of her. The black community talking about, you're representing every little black girl, you're representing our community out there. Not only that, she's representing a country, she's representing, so many different things that weight is on her shoulders. And she still has to be able to turn that off. Everybody has their own personal opinions. This is a young woman at that, who's on social media, who has to do media, who has to do all these things. And everybody's got some type of opinion. And they're like, why can't you be professionals and block it out? But it's like, I'm human. How do I block this out?
Seriously.
I've done so much. I can't get away. I can't really get away. Even if I take medication, go through therapy, I still have to deal with it. But people don't see that, And I'm going that route right now is because, like, obviously I'm in the martial arts community, and I watched a really prominent jiu-jitsu player who's possibly one of the greatest heavyweights, one of the greatest jiu-jitsu players of our generation right now, and he weighed in on it himself, and he's like, I've dealt with the stomach issue for years, unable to eat, unable to feel 100%, and I've still competed. I've never quit anything, and I've gone through this, and I just feel it's like, yeah, mental health is an issue, but you know what? You got to learn how to suck that up, and you got to learn how to compete no matter what. So he thought that it was in bad taste that she's representing her country and she's quitting on herself and her teammates and her country out there, citing it's for mental health. But then I'm like, okay, I understand. I respect your choice and your decision because, yeah, you compete at a high level too. I would say you probably are in the Olympics of jiu-jitsu, which is huge because people come from globally for there. But the one thing that I'm sitting here like, but you were never sexually assaulted, at least that we know of. You were never sexually assaulted by one of your coaches that's been there.
Mm-hmm.
Or a coach doctor.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
That's different.
It is.
That right there is already
it adds to the very
huge. Yeah.
No.
A huge thing, but people don't think about that.
No.
And it's like, yes, it's a high honor to be out there representing, but there's so many different variables. It's like if that was your sister, your niece, your mom, your cousin, people got to think about that. Make it more personal. Take yourself out of your comfort zone and make that more personal. Would you feel that way if that was your girlfriend who was out there, your wife, your sister, your daughter, your whatever, somebody close, your best friend? Would you still have those same feelings, or would you want to protect her at all costs? Because people also got to remember this too. She could die.
That's another piece that I wanted to bring up is even if somebody feels as though that she could have done it with the best trainers, the best doctors, if she's not in it, what is the consequence for her? She could have injured herself and everybody else would continue to move on in their life.
Mm-hmm.
And just have parties or write-ups and all this stuff about her, but she's still the one that's got to go through the therapy. She's still the one that's got to go through the surgeries. That's if she lives through her injuries. Because she does things that they said that nobody else is able to do. Yeah. She's up there on the uneven bar. She's up there on the balance beam. She's up there doing all these highly difficult, dangerous things.
Yes.
And you have to be in the right mental headspace for that.
That's
Absolutely.
right.
At all times. There is no room for error.
Correct.
There's just so much to this, She did it all with such great poise and grace and love and support.
Yes.
For her team. Even though she had to step out from a team, and from everything else, but then she still went back to go do her own thing for her individual. She was there supporting. She was there through everything and made sure to cheer on and be a voice of reason and a light for her teammates so they can continue, because this is some of their first times.
Yes.
And there were other people being first, the first Hmong female competitor out there.
That's right.
That's huge.
Yeah. On
that same stage as her. And she's like, yo, brighten her light. Dim mine a little bit, brighten her. Like, she's still able to do that. That's amazing.
That's right.
But then you have, if you go in the same competition, but just in another sport, you have Novak Djokovic, who's a big tennis player from, he's a Serbian champion. He threw a huge tantrum because he was losing and not doing very well. And when I say a huge tantrum, I mean literally this guy goes full Federline and breaks his racket.
Like Eminem anger management level?
Yeah, throws it in the stands, hits a net with another one, just has this whole thing, and then leaves his partner there during doubles. Drops out because they were losing for the bronze medal.
And that's okay.
And that's okay. People are like, oh man, well, he's under this kind of pressure. It's like, but why is it okay for a white cisgender male to have these types of blow-ups, but then a black woman does it in another way, in a more graceful, supposedly socially acceptable way, and people then it's like such a big deal where it's like they either love it or they extremely hate it.
Yeah, and that's the opinions, right? I think a great thing that her story is going to come out of this, as I think this is just a prophetic piece of this, is, she's a very much of a motivator during her young time in her career, to be able to encourage and step away and to give and pass the torch in front of everybody on that platform to her teammates for the nation is amazing. And that's where she will be able to hopefully speak on behalf of inspiration. That there's a lot internally that she has probably already dealt with. It's just not able to be vocalized, but that gave her a wonderful transition to move forward in her life. So if you think about sort of society and what we've dealt with in the last, 3 to 4 years, this is what I would say social awareness and socially we've been dealing with as a country, all contained into this one person.
100%.
Yeah.
100%.
Now, just like you said, how graceful can we move forward as a country, as a people, to move out of it gracefully, so we no longer have to be motivated by the clicks and the shares and the content, but more of the encouragement of peers to be able to hand off gracefully and to now inspire others to say, you know what? Yes, there's some PTSD here. Yes, I've had broken toes. Yes, as a governing commission. Yes, I've had the best doctors and everybody was there for me. But you know what? It was time for me to move on and my soul wasn't with it.
Right.
So I'm not going to put my life in jeopardy for ratings.
Yes. I mean, it speaks very much to what O was saying, like it speaks to the conditioning the society has. I mean, without trying to be like, oh, it's about, because everything's about the white guys, like, excuse me. I've been noticing there are a lot of things that we as society, I say, like have had in front of our eyes and our faces for so long, and we've seen the range of it, and have had the sentiments behind them that excuse certain things, right? Because we can understand that person's having a hard day. We can understand that guy is, they bear with me for a moment. Like, oh, he's got, good future in front of him, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. Whereas when we talk about that with, people of the global majority, being represented in such a way, people, you see others are much more critical because we don't get to see in media the wide spectrum of individuals that are fallible, that are, that stumble and fall, that get back up and find their way, that we're the underdogs and then make it out at the end and like come up on top. And like, it's a lot of that is absent, that I think if done correctly and if done in a way, I don't say correctly because I feel like there's a right or a wrong way, but I mean, if you're like exploiting it, I feel like that's the wrong way. Anyway, if done in such a way, where it becomes normal in society, it's not to say there won't be pushback. You see that with a lot of things, whereas this, like, one athlete can throw their racket, throw a tantrum, get upset, and then another athlete gracefully bows out to take care of themselves in a moment. You see the stretch. You see the stretch that people are willing to go because they're used to seeing this from one set of people. They're used to seeing this from a demographic, but they also know that like they've also seen the hero's journey that this person has gone on. They hadn't seen the hero's journey that this other individual has gone on, and the struggles that they've had to go through internally, because then that means that those people have created empathy for this individual of which they don't share anything with. And so it's hard for them to even come to terms with it, because, you see Superman movies, you see all these sorts of things where like, I'll do Superman, I'll do Taken, and then let's go, what was the most recent one? Nobody, that I just saw. And like, what is it? Like you have the hero that stands up for truth and justice. What is he? He's a white cishet male, or looks like one. You have the dad that goes after the kidnappers to save his daughter. What is he? He's an older white male. I've not seen one movie like that about anybody else, people of the global majority, anybody represented in that department. I've not seen, an older woman, for that matter, go out and have these action movies, those sorts of things, those sorts of roles. So we're not conditioned, to feel those same feelings, because you get to see what is stereotyped. You get to see what is projected out into the world. You get to see what isn't dealt with in healthy ways. As I mentioned earlier, like within our community, like when I was listening to y'all speak, you said something that I thought was important, that she is holding the weight of black women, like those two separate categories, and together, like black women and just women, all of that is waiting on, plus United States on her shoulders. I don't know. I'm about to create a spoiler for anybody who hasn't seen Falcon and the Winter Soldier, but there was something really important in that show that like was said, and it's made me think ever since of like what self-respecting black person could wear the Stars and Stripes, and who would, because there's so much weight behind it. What stands behind representing the USA? Yes, she's on the team. Yes, we're all about inclusion. Yes, everybody's like you're working together as a country. But what do you do when there's so much weight behind what your skin represents for that country? What the history behind it is. When you're going out and winning, and you're going out and doing impossible moves that is deemed dangerous for other people, but you showed that it's possible to do because of your athleticism. And then what do? They mark you down because of it, instead of when other people have attempted it. They didn't even mention it being, an illegal or impossible move. They just said, "Oh my God, they would have made history," and that was it. It's a lot of, like I said, weight, that comes with trying to do your best in those moments. But yeah, it's just when you don't see it represented, when you have so much history behind it, when there's like, this is such like a multi-layered conversation.
To also kind of support what you were saying about the superhero complex, that it's the white savior, cisgender male. If they do have one, there's always a catch. Let me tell you, I'm going to give you a solid example. Man on Fire with Denzel Washington. Man on Fire is a movie about a black security guard who's hired to live in Mexico and protect a young white girl who is the child of a rich Mexican individual. And they do a lot of child abductions out there. Now, the thing is this man, here's the catch. He's a drunk. So if you know anything about the effects of alcohol and how it messes with your timing and everything else. So they show this man spiraling through alcoholism and dealing with some pressures in life. And even through all that, he's still able to come out and not only save this girl, spoiler alert, but this movie's mad old, so if you haven't seen it, that's on you. But not only was he able to save this young girl's life, but he was also able to trade his life for hers. Mm-hmm. He laid his own life down for hers, right? That's all well and good, but what was the one big thing that I told you he had? He was an alcoholic. Now, what was it about the guy from Taken? What was he? An inactive father.
Yeah. No, he was an inactive father? I thought he was an active father.
Well, how can he be that active if you're always off doing work?
Well, that's true. I wasn't paying that much attention to it.
Right, like he was there, but he really couldn't because he did all these high-level cases. Right. He didn't, but he was an active role in her life, but not in the way that we want, that we deem, like the way that you fathers are active or around for your children, And it's just crazy. It's like you have these two things. You know, we always play those two things. Now, and how we're relating this to Simone Biles is like, she has this great gift. She is almost the perfect athlete in her field. So highly skilled, high level, to where they can't even, they acknowledge her greatness, but they don't want to give her goatness.
So
They want to acknowledge her,
that sounds like society.
Yeah, they want to acknowledge her greatness, but don't want to give her goatness. Oh man, you can't be the greatest of all time. We can't let that happen. No. We got to knock that down a bit. We're gonna knock that down a bit. It's too dangerous for other people. Forget other people. I'm over here showing you that this is possible.
Yeah.
Y'all thought it was crazy that man could fly, but now look, everybody's riding the planes. But it took somebody to have the mental fortitude and to be deemed crazy or willing to put themselves out there to try and fly like the birds.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Let them be great, so let me be great.
Right.
Give me my goat.
And you ask yourself, with all those gifts, and with any athlete or artist, they want to, push the boundaries of their creative artistic ability and move a sport or an industry forward with they don't ask for anything back in return. They just want to give to the other peers in the love of that sport, that art, or that entertainment. So they then ask you, if that is what everybody is here to do, using the Simone Biles situation, what facet didn't show up? And what facet is judging her criteria? The governing body, the commissions, whatever the scoring mechanisms are, were not reestablished.
Mm-hmm.
Very similar to bills and laws of our society. So you take one independent sport and you push that sport, or you take the bills and laws of our society as a country and you push it forward. There's a threshold there right now that has the ability for us to move forward. And like I said, going back to that analogy, that is a great representation of how our people and how our country is moving forward.
Isn't it crazy though how you are able to bridge that gap between all of this? I mean, because you have a unique viewpoint, especially because of your location of where you reside and the thought process, and everything's different. Like, you are not a native Texan.
No.
You are not a native Bay Area person either. So you have the ideals of the East Coast, the West Coast, and now the South.
Yes.
And you have
Russia.
a whole picture.
In Russia.
Yeah, and Russia, right? Oh yeah, you did spend a lot of time out there too.
Yeah.
But it's like you have this unique viewpoint and ideals, right? And you're able to kind of sit back and see these things, because a lot of people don't really realize. It's like, and I love the way you kind of brought this home with it. You're like, she is everything that is America right now.
She is.
All of our issues, everything that's going on within our country is actually being in the forefront, being shown through this young lady's struggles and her triumphs at the same time. Everybody loves success but hates successful people. So they're loving her success because she makes the United States look great, but she's not at the level of what they want her success should be, and they want to be able to have their own opinions about it. And it's crazy, She's also, it's like people love black talent but hate black bodies.
Oof.
And that's the crazy part too. It's like I've really, really wondered, if she was not black, if she was not a black woman, would they still have the same thoughts and feelings about that? And I hate to go that route, but that's just something that sticks in my mind at times too. This is like, if this was not if this was not a part of the conversation, if this was different, would it be the same?
Yeah. To answer your question, I mean, okay, I cannot remember the ice skater, but she was a black woman. Okay, she did she did this illegal move, which was a backflip, and it was done in such a way that, like, only I think 2 or 3 other skaters had attempted it. and they were all men, and they were all white men. And in the competition, all three of them, they got scored on it, and it wasn't deemed illegal, and it wasn't deemed, stricken against them. The thing that set her different from them is they landed on two skates. She was the only person to ever complete the move and land on one skate. And that only reason why she did that was because she had injured herself earlier and she couldn't land a couple of moves that she was trying to land in order to score the way she wanted to score. And so she ended up trying one more time, but she couldn't land on the foot that was injured. And so she does this backflip and lands on one skate and like kills it. And like the crowd's going wild, everybody's going crazy, but you can hear them in the background. They're like, "Oh, that was the illegal move. That was illegal. It was legal." Whereas you watch the other two or three recordings of the white males attempting and landing a similar move that is also deemed illegal, and they didn't bring it up once. They were like, "Oh my!" I think only one did, and they were like, "Oh my goodness! That was like an illegal, impossible move, and he's landed it. Amazing! Let's see how the judges score." And like it wasn't, they weren't vilified for it. It was amazing, and let's see how they scored him. And he scored really, really well. And I think it was almost tens across the board.
Yeah, her name was Syria Bonali.
Yes.
She's a French figure skater.
Yes.
That's right.
Yes.
Yeah. And it's crazy. It's really, really crazy to me. I do want to ask a question though. Carmichael, when you were competing and you were starting to compete with things that people weren't used to seeing, how was it being accepted then?
I'm torn between the governing and the commissioning that raised me, that may have allowed me the platform to get away with the growth of where our sport is now. I'm also torn because I do believe in rules and regulations. I do believe in audit and compliance because it maintains order. But I do believe in creative freedom. And it was interesting that when I left a specific team and changed my uniform and cut my hair, the look in their eyes and what that industry needed at that time did not want to let go of the perception that they wanted to attach themselves to. But I always knew that my gifts were always beyond whatever they perceived their expectations to be and what they always deemed my potential would be. So I forgave them. Took some time. But imagine when you do the same performance and nothing's changed, and let's say you shaved all your hair, or Zeke shaved all of his hair, you've shaved all your goatee, and you guys look totally different, but you did the same performance. And that's what it felt like. That really shared with me that there's a lot more politics involved than the actual creativity of pushing a sport forward through one single individual. Because they wanted to, in general, and there was a lot of, in their way, structure and things that they were planning on. I'll put it that way. But, as many know, the story is I left and I didn't come back until 10 years later as a whole nother person, as an identity that was actually not even 180 degrees different. It was like 720 degrees different. I came back a whole nother person a decade later.
You've always been one to innovate and push the envelope. You always knew how to toe the line and keep people's attention, but also make them go, what is that? Or is that okay? Or can you do that? Mm-hmm. And why? How does it feel to always be ahead of the curve and not being able to have people see what you're doing until everybody else sees the tsunami coming. It's almost like you're Noah.
I understand.
You're always building the ark. You're building the ark, and you're always doing that. With whatever you do, you build the ark, and you're telling them it's going to flood. A lot of times people don't believe you until it's happening.
Yes.
I know Zeke understand that too.
Yeah, I mean, it's I've learned, like you said, grace and patience through my journeys. And I also feel as though that's my gift, is what you all see, is to, prophesize through action, is to connect people with the deepest soul and integrity of themselves. We're not here, my relationships, the people in our circle, we're not here cleaning brass. We're gold, purely gold. And, as they would say, take it from B.O.B Remind is, you have to mine yourself, which means you continue to look inside of yourself. And mining yourself is really hard, because eventually you are all diamonds. But when you pick a diamond up, there's different facets of it. And that's how I deem people's perceptions of life. Because depending on the number of facets in that diamond is different people's expectations for you and what they only perceive that facet to be. But at the end of that diamond always will shine. And that's why we have the people that we have. And I really would say a couple of things as you guys, I would just say in general, it's encouraging. You guys encourage me. I do a lot of inspirational, as you guys know, spiritual inspiration in my life. But it really just comes down to realizing this is not about motivation anymore. I love Tony Robbins or Gary Vee, and they're great motivators in life, or Robert Kiyosaki. You know what I mean? They're great in their industry. But I love philosophy. I love the Bible. I love spirituality. I love history, and history does repeat itself. But I also know the tribes that you're with are very, very important to allow you to shine, because what I've learned through all this is, one could say, yes, I was the first, but as every floor that was given to me, or every ceiling that was given to me, is now my floor. And every floor that I've built became your ceiling, and you've been able to pass it on. And that just comes out of respect, honesty, and integrity. First and foremost, it's also the love, the love of what I do, the spirit of everything, and the compassion, and what I attempt to maintain the joy of doing. And that takes time, right? A lot of this stuff is on my phone. There's a lot of text messages that happen, and certain things that I've been blessed to be around. But just comes down to being a disciple and learning disciplines. Yes. And being, not a master of one, is master of them all. Masters of the universe, what I mean? Just straight He-Man it, and it's like, I love to be a student. I really, really do. And I love to pass on my opportunity to build networks and everything I've done for Cisco, for example, that became Zoom. Or I love the fact that our American style of martial arts transcended to tricking. I love the fact that I could still look back and watch, artists who do trick now have opportunities to be in stunts and, do, background dancers, or even foreground dancers now, as trickers. So it's nice to see that, because what that tells me was about patience, and was about knowing there's only a certain one or two that understand the philosophy, live the philosophy, embodied that as the discipline, and carried it on. You know, I look at, for example, Omega, you know, it's like when you watch his journey, Z and everybody else who's watching this, listening to this podcast, it's important because many of you guys know him as a West Coast demo team action star, or, you know, in LA trying to dance with that usher at the time. But, you know, there was, you know, I joked with Gucci 2 weeks ago. I was like, you know, we're going to end up dancing for Chris Brown. Maybe not in our 20s or 30s, since that time's passed, but probably definitely at 50. But you know what? That's cool because we prepared and we waited. And it doesn't matter that it happened. You know, we would have loved it in our 20s or 30s per se, but if it happens in our lifetime, that's awesome.
Yeah.
Like you, Z, you know what I mean? It's like you'll have those opportunities like Q. You know what I mean?
Right.
Shaka Khan. Like there's certain people like you love and you really like, I just want to share a stage. And that's the most important thing I've always loved is surround yourself and find your gifts and create the platforms with the people that you want to be around.
Yes, 100%.
Because the stories that happen, these are what we're documenting right now is our autobiography of our life. You know, and it's like when you read about Simone Biles and all these athletes and how other people have an opinion and people are snapping fast, and you can even read now, like when you bring up an article, oh, this is a 3-minute read. Like people just don't want to dig deep into anything anymore. So it's like, you know, they don't want to take the time to know the truth of anything. So they just surface it,
Right.
you know, surface information. And it's really about documenting this and knowing that our autobiography of our life is being captured for our generations in the future.
Absolutely. I do have a question for you, Carmichael.
Sure.
In that space you had mentioned a little bit earlier, you had said, you know, you decided you left and you came back 10 years later. Do you feel like, kind of keeping in theme with what we were talking about, do you feel like that was your desire to take care of your own mental health?
Oh, yeah. Absolutely. Absolutely, man. It was, and that's how I understand. I can only relate to the situations she's dealing with, is because when you're being judged all the time for creative talent, and the judges and the platform hasn't adopted a new system, you become victim to that system, i.e. society, right?
Right.
And then you get to a point that everybody begins to emulate, you know, it's, as I said, often emulated, never duplicated.
Right.
To this day, I've been blessed that these functions have not been duplicated.
Right.
You know, and that's probably just a testament to where I was at that time of my life and being per se a forefather of the sport. But I say all that is it's been a journey to sit with yourself quietly, because I did not extend myself out. I actually went inside of myself. I did not readily share to, as you said, expose myself to give the ability to somebody to exploit me, because I was already being exploited. So I had to cut it. So I felt as though I could manage my own soul and my own spirit. And I left. And the funny thing about it is the first thing I started to do when I left was go to Korean clubs and EDM house clubs. And all I did was house dance and listen to K-pop. And then you think, you know, and that's what I did for about 5 years. You know, went to University of Maryland and, you know, just lived the lifestyle of, per se, K-pop and house dancing, you know, and lo and behold, that helped me when I got to the Bay.
Hey.
You know, I just learned how to, and the funniest thing about it with all that is the full circle came back around is because I had to now learn how to count. And what I mean by I learned how to count was as much structure as creatives we want to stay away from being governed and just keep away from boundaries. Music and the way we dance still has a rhythmic count. So you still have to be in the structure. That's what the crazy piece of this whole thing is.
It's like that, like what you just said is very impactful, because like people don't think in that. I mean, that's why we do this. People don't think in that pattern. Don't think in that sense. It's funny when we all started this, kind of keeping in line. We were kind of like, hey, how you doing? How you doing? How you doing? And like, all I can ever really get out right now is I just am right now. The reason the reason why we had to take a mental health break for the past couple weeks was due to actually, if anyone's seen my most recent Guru Merkaba video, where I was doing superhero kung fu extravaganza challenge. In that video, it reminds me of after that shoot, finding out that I have COVID, and not only that, giving it to my family and kind of going through that whole mental gymnastics. Now, when I say I just am, it's because there's been like a roller coaster of things happening over the past 2 weeks. And so during that time, not only was I getting over being sick, but I had to deal with a lot of mental strain, dealing with my family getting it, my kids getting it, the unknowns that come with COVID and the long-term effects, being vaccinated. I'm so thankful that I'm vaccinated, and that every adult here every person here over 12 is vaccinated, because the symptoms were mild and not for that long, so I'm super grateful for that. But of just kind of dealing with the feeling of bringing it in my house, there's a lot of guilt and weight that came down with that. The feelings surrounding the fear that I felt, not for myself, it's not that I didn't care about myself. I love myself, trust me, but I also know what I can handle. And that was something I felt like I could handle. I was like, oh, I can handle this. This is fine. Let it just be me. And I found myself reaching to the universe, just being like, let it just be me, please.
Yes.
Let it only be me. 'Cause I can take this. I can handle it and get through it and just deal with, all of the things that are coming with it mentally and et cetera, in order to move forward. But having my family catch it, it was hard, because I also couldn't do anything, because I was quarantined away from everyone else to begin with, and and they were quarantined away from me, and a lot of new trauma forming. So it was a little hard to focus on us meeting up and recording, and then me going to have to focus during that week on editing, when that was not something I wanted to do. So much like Simone, even less of a goat in this area, but soon to be, we decided to step away from it, say we need to take some time for our own mental health, take some time for ourselves, because on top of that, in theme with this roller coaster, I was on my very first San Diego Comic-Con panel. Now, thank you.
I don't have the feature. Because I'd be doing that to you right now.
I appreciate it, brother. But yeah, like I got to be a part of my very first San Diego Comic-Con panel, and it was virtual. Thankfully, I got to attend it being virtual, so I was like, sweet, you know. But I had to like hold myself together because I was still like, I was in mid fever of like, oh, I gotta wait for this fever to break. I was just so exhausted and tired and worn out, and then I'm just like, you know what? I'm gonna rally for this and like have some fun. Get on the panel. Find out there's a competition for the videos that got us there. I was like, what? I was freaking out. I was like, no one said this was a competition. And then I thankfully I won first place. I was very thankful. I got to thank you. I got to see all these amazing creators. I got to see all these amazing creators, you know, put their own unique spin on the challenge, and I was thankful, you know, for being the one to like, you know, win that contest. And we got to stay on and talk and listen, and it was just a wonderful, wonderful experience. So having that, and then, you know, dealing with all of these mental gymnastics, because, you know, my family got diagnosed with it at a different time than me. So then it was like, I was really down because I got, you know, COVID, and then I was starting to come back up, and I got really, really up because I was at Comic-Con and on a panel. And then I got really, really down because I found my family finally, you know, tested positive. And then, you know, it was just like this up and down and up and down and up and down and up and down. And it was like this long, crazy thing while, you know, working on my business. Like, we're making leaps and bounds and like really like seeing these sprouts come up from the seeds we had planted and watered and nourished for the time that we have, and just watching as it continues to grow and flourish and like dealing with all of that. So, I mean, if I was in a competition setting, you know, like that for a continuous amount of time, and I was going through these highs and lows, like I already feel the mental strain, you know. I feel changed inside. I have a little bit more traumatic triggering that happens now for certain things, you know, where, you know, I have less patience for egotistical, narcissistic, selfish individuals. And like, I it's very hard for me. Like I work from that space of like, I try to exude love for a lot of people, for everyone, you know, but as everything has kind of, you know, come to head from the turmoil of 2020 summer, you know, protests, to the politicizing of masks and vaccines and the virus, and, you know, just the craziness going on with that. And like, I have less patience for individuals who don't care to think about, even for a second, what another person's experience is like. I was driving home the other day, and I realized this was an issue for me personally when I was dealing with really hard road rage. But it wasn't like I was like, oh my God, I was just like, you know, smashing in through people, what have you. But like, I was noticing that people were, you know, I'm trying to get over, you know, into the next lane. And I was like, okay, well, I'll just get in front of this individual. They're going really slow. That's fine. I'm going to go around them and then get in front and keep going, make sure I'm safe, because people are driving erratically and crazy. And I can see people's moves before they make them, blah, blah, blah. But then like the person, as I like pass them, they start speeding up. And so that I couldn't get over. And I was just like, what are you doing? Like, what the fuck? And like, I was like super upset. And like, I was like, you know what? Fine. I slowed down, got behind the person. Like, I waited until I got, you know, enough space, found a route around, got through them. But like, and while also other people are just, you know, moving over into other lanes, swerving, no blinker. Like, my biggest pet peeve is someone not using their blinker. It is a few inches away from your fingers. All you have to do, you don't even have to think about it. You can blow on that shit, and it goes click, 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 click. And I'm like, I swear to you, it's not that hard to use. Like, it saves lives, because sometimes that's all people can see. They're not able to predict the body language of a fucking car. People can't predict, and not everyone can predict the body language of a car. I see it because I'm attuned to everyone else. I'm attuned to being trying to be empathetic to those that are around me. Okay, I see this person is getting antsy. They're trying to get in the lane, but they're nervous, so they're not going to put their blinker on until they feel comfortable. So I'm going to back off a little bit, and then they flick on their blinker, and I'm like, come on. And it's okay, you can come over. And then they come on over. Those are the kinds of moves that I feel like I'm trying to make. And it was just so frustrating, not just that, people in crowded areas. There's a variant, blowing up right now. There are people contracting it. I caught it, and my family's caught it. I don't have patience for people who don't care about others, because the real politics surrounding a mask are, if you don't care about yourself, wear it because you care about other people and if they live or not. Like, people are like, oh, I'll be fine, I'll be good. But, all right, that's great. But it's not just for you. It's for others, whatever that case may be. Anyway, off my soapbox about that. But of just like that being something so heavy on like my mental health, taking that time out and just being like, I gotta step away is so powerful, because I was able to talk it out, like I was talking with O, and I was talking a little bit about it. And like, once I really started to pinpoint what the feelings were, what I was going through, and as I got to really like work it out, I cried. I was sobbing like on the phone with O. Like, I was telling him, like, I feel terrified. I feel uncertain. And like, I'm going to say something that's going to sound crazy, but as I said before, like, I see things before they happen. I am very reliant on it. I see people's actions before they happen. I mean, fuck, I saw cheese fall in a supermarket before it fell. Like, so much so that I reacted. And then I was like, wait, the cheese didn't fall. And then it fell into my hand. And I said, oh shit. No one else saw that. Of course, nobody else saw that. So it's just like this weird story on a podcast. But like, it's something that's a big part of my life. And this was something I didn't see happening. I didn't see it coming. I mean, I kind of have felt an inkling. And so like, I tried to take certain, precautions, but then, it just wasn't something that was hitting me and be like, hey, this is coming. This is going to happen. And so now I'm in this space of feeling very uncertain. And this is what I was telling. It's like, I feel uncertain. I feel uncertain about the future. I feel afraid because I don't know what's going to happen to me. Something that I asked for during my little stint of quarantine, when like everybody in the house was quarantining, came to me, and I was so terrified that it was my request was answered, that it was going to be a harbinger of some bad news. So I feel the very real effects of like that mental strain that comes with just going. And then all of a sudden this big thing is happening to you, whether that's, you're dealing with somebody who is basically meant to take care of you, and instead they abuse you and take advantage of you. Or, you're used to taking care of your family and everyone. And then all of a sudden you're a harbinger of this, deadly disease virus, whatever it is. It's like the weight of these things are, if you don't take that time, will crush you. And Simone even said this in an interview about, that she even felt at that time like she would die. She felt like she reached a point of feeling suicidal, but like she felt like it was because of the weight of all of that stuff that she didn't, I don't believe she initially sought help or therapy or et cetera, because like when her family would talk about it, like when the news came out about the person, she was very adamant about being like, no, like that didn't happen to me. No, that's my friend. I'm not going to talk, like, let's not talk about that. And like she just, because conditioned, whatever community you're a part of, conditioned to feel, like mental health or trauma and all of these things shouldn't be happening to you. So you really want to push it away, and that can become toxic for yourself and for others, because then you realize you're triggering and exploding on other people or on yourself. You're off your game. You injure yourself. It further puts you in the spiral. You're in this like dark, cyclical place, whereas, if you just address it, really sit with it. One thing that I'm going to use something that my friends and family and loved ones kind of say about me, which I'm growing to try and own it, but of like, I'm somebody who desperately tries to get comfortable with walking through fire, not with the illusion that I'll be unscathed, but with the understanding that on the other side of this walk through fire there will be, prosperity, etc. Like mental stability, financial, physical, etc., etc., etc. On that other side of walking through the fire that comes with the inner turmoil that gets set ablaze based off of trauma, experience, and whatnot. But I've been talking for a while, so go ahead.
That's a very fair statement about you. And I will also say that's a fair statement of everybody that's deemed to be great, if not now, but later. I've seen Carmichael do that. I've heard him do that through his stories, the same thing. And that's why I asked the question that I asked earlier. I feel it too. I don't know, because I am in it right now, so I can't tell you if that's what I do as well. But what I do know is it's important that you are able to do that, because that's what the greats have to do. When you're a trailblazer, the only way you can blaze that trail is you got to set the fire. You got to be comfortable with the heat. You know what I mean? And that's what you're doing. That's what both of you have done. Carmichael's laid the foundation to show that it's okay to be comfortable with the heat. You just got to keep cooking while you're doing it. And don't get comfortable. Once you feel that comfort happening, it's time to move on and go set another one, and set other people up to be just as successful, and set another one. And that's what you're doing. You're just preparing for your greatness, and you are setting those little blazes, and you're getting comfortable on each one, and soon you're going to move on to the next. And that's okay. And I believe that's what happened with Simone Biles. It's just she's been in that fire for so long. It was time for her to move on out and focus on herself, because sometimes in the fire, you're going to get burned. She just needed a little bit of time to tend to her wounds, that she can get back to it. But a lot of people are so busy standing with their fire retardant blankets and their fire extinguishers, ready to put out somebody else's fire and critique it. Well, this is what I would have done if I was capable of doing that.
If they were capable of doing it. They weren't built that way. Continue.
Exactly. And that's just what it is, you know what I mean? That's why I feel it's important, like you taking that mental time was important. And our conversation was beautiful, and I support you. If we want to change things to make it more to make it more comfortable for you, for me, for us, I support it. Because why? We're here for each other. And I said that we're here for each other because you say you are in tune with how other people move. I truly believe I am, just like Carmichael is. I think the three of us are very, very, very in tune with that. And with that having been said, we also know that there are times when we need to be able to move and protect ourselves. And some people just don't seem to understand that, because we are in a narcissistic society. It's about the me over the we. Yeah, it's about the me over the we. And a lot of times we are the three of us are we-centered people. We are centered around others. We base our movements and the things that we do around others because we want to see not just me or us be successful, but we want to see the success of those around us at the same time. Because we're not the ones that believe in it's lonely at the top. We come from the thought process of there's plenty of room up here. And a lot of people don't think like that. Because if there's plenty of room up there, I got to protect you just like you got to protect me.
Right.
Because at any moment we can fall. And I like that how you were talking about the mask situation. I agree. It's like I am here in Connecticut in a bubble. Technically, my employment is in a bubble, right? We're in the middle of a casino. People don't have to wear a mask anymore. But we do. A lot of the fighters and their coaches don't want to do it. But when they come to our bubble, they have to put it on. They fight it. Somebody even made a snooty remark, and it's like, hey, that's all well and good. You're vaccinated? Hey, congratulations. That's great. So am I. But do you see me wearing my mask still? It's like we need that understanding. And it's like, it's not about the me, it's about the we. And the best way I can say it is, why would you be so selfish or your team be so selfish and mess up your money?
Right.
You're getting paid to do a job and all we're asking you to do is wear a mask and you can't do that because you're so opinionated about it. Now, what about if you get sick or somebody else in your camp becomes sick? That scraps your fight. It was out of your hand, out of your control. Or was it? And you just lost your money.
Right. Because
we can't affect the health of everybody else. Some people don't think about that. It's so much about, well, me, my, and mine, as opposed to you, me, and we. And Simone Biles was carrying the we on her shoulders.
Right.
Every competitor on that global stage was carrying their country on their shoulders, whether they were the gold medalist or the I didn't medal place. They still had the same weight.
Yep.
Just some people have more eyes on them than others, and it gets hard.
Yeah.
And even think about this too. I just thought of this today. Not today, last week, actually, when you brought this up, I was like, it was supposed to be the 2020 Olympic Games, not 2021.
Right.
So they lost and gained an extra year, if that makes sense.
Yep.
So they had to train an extra year, which means they gained another year of practice, but they also lost another year of the Olympic Games because they should have been done already.
Yep.
That messes with the mind as well.
That messes with the mind as well.
You were fully prepared.
And then they talk about all the restrictions that they have to go through there. It's like, it's so much more, but people don't get it.
And even
we all
some I think there's hundreds of Olympic athletes that came down with COVID as well. And, not just athletes, but I think coaches and people like that. So,
yeah.
I mean.
So, again, we need to remember, and I'm going to go on record saying this, it's important that we as individuals protect the group, the collective.
We as the collective.
Take care of the we over just the me.
Yes.
But also by doing that, you also have to take care of me so I can continue to be with the we.
100%.
Taking the labels out of it in general, the labels of good or bad or ugly or indifferent or, whatever we're dealing with individually, collective, or as a society is, I'm going to put my engineering hat on now. So it'll help. So we don't frame it a little bit philosophical, but more of engineering. It's not if it's going to happen, it's when it's going to happen. So, right. For example, as an architect or an engineer, you want things to break. So you have the ability to solve problems because nothing is ever solved. Everything is broken and everything is consistently broken because things always get touched and changed. But that's why you stretch as a person, or that's why you stretch as a collective or society in general. So always be prepared for that, and that, like I said, it could be taken negative or positively. I'll just self-reflect for you, Z, is like, yes, you were breaking a fever, but you were on one of the top 3 platforms of Comic-Con internationally at the time, and won an award.
Yeah.
When you look back at that, what are you going to actually remember? You're going to remember both of it and that you endured it. This whole life is about endurance and adapting. So everything that you learned in 2020 allowed you to develop yourself as a microservice. So you were able to use virtualization. You were able to use, just basic texting and technology, as well as your human skills, right, to take care of your family. But you did that and you serviced it every 15 minutes.
Right.
You focused, answered some questions, still on the panel, thought about your family. Maybe you stepped away, maybe you didn't step away, but maybe you hit a text to make sure everybody was good. But that's the life we're living now, is a microservice. But there's good and bad, because it can really distract you, right? Because people can only last for about 15 minutes, but you got to make sure that you know what you're doing in between those blocks, right? I would also say this is, like you said, it's like being one with that universe, or that energy, or getting to that state of understanding for yourself. Is there is a difference between prayer and meditation, right? Is when people typically pray, they ask. But one thing that you did and you said, and I wanted to point out to you all and to the audience, is that you reflected and you sat there and you meditated. And you waited for the thoughts to come to you rather than you asking. When you ask too much, that's no different than a social media feed asking, telling what you should and shouldn't be doing, rather than just sitting yourself in silence. And they would say clearing your mind, like a Buddhist, or one would say thinking about scripture as a Christian, right? And connecting is you waited until the proper thoughts came to you.
Right.
And that's actually what healed you, because you weren't asking. You weren't tied in to the virtual world. There were times that you had to step away.
Yeah. I had to
and
reflect.
meditate
I had to go
yourself.
in. Yeah.
Yes. Right. And, and overall, I brought up Russia at the beginning of this conversation because I was there when it was, when it changed from communist to democracy, and it was flat, meaning people in society did not even develop at the time. Like it was, and that was a revival for that country at that time, and that's, if we take that same structure of the government, what happened then, and understand as it's educated and as intelligent as we are now in our country, is just, we're just stepping into another third revival. We're moving into a revival right now because there's enough intelligence and understanding for us to proceed forward as a people.
Yeah, absolutely.
All right. So I'm going to segue real quick because how we were just talking about greatness, and we were talking about Simone Biles' female greatness. We also want to talk about somebody else's female greatness, and that's going to be.
What time is it?
I can't see this.
What time is it? What time is it? Hey, what time is it? It's Black on Business time. Hey. So today we're actually going to do our first Brown on Business, where we get to talk a little bit about some of the great things that these individuals are doing. The individual for today is Zordon of Doom. She is a singer, songwriter, video game player, YouTuber, the whole gambit, writer, amazing artist in general, partner in crime,
and a previous person that was on the show.
A previous guest, previous patron of our bar. Her merch actually, it just dropped. You can check it out on enrage.com/shop Zordon. But yeah, no, she doesn't know this yet. But as soon as it dropped, I had to sneak on there and grab a couple of things. I had to get myself a Zordon of Doom hoodie, looking good. Shouts out. looking, feeling nice. It's all comfy and whatnot. But also throughout this entire episode, I've been repping the No Face. She has an OP out called No Face, and it's this amazing art gathered together. On the back, it says Zordon of Doom. It's great quality. Feels very durable. Like it'll stand it'll stand some washes and still feel good afterwards. And still be all together and nice. Like, this is great quality stuff. Like I said, you could check it out on enrage.com/shop Zordon. And actually, you could check out some of her music as well if you want to on any of the major streaming sites. Spotify, you can go Zordon of Doom. All one word all together. You see right here. Bam. Zordon of Doom. Yeah. You could also check her out on Twitch. She streams almost nightly. Actually, in fact, as we're recording this episode, she should be streaming. You can check her out on twitch.tv /Zordon of Doom. And yeah, she streams almost every night except for, I think, Fridays and Saturdays. You can check her out on there. She's from about 8 or 9 p.m. Pacific time till about 4 or 5, maybe 6 a.m. Pacific time. A late night streamer, but if you get a chance, it's very worth it. Very fun. Yeah.
Awesome. And also, one thing I do want to make sure to say is, and I know it sounds very weird, but it's like, if you can't financially support by sharing. Just spread the word. You know what I'm saying? We're so big to support those that we don't even know. Well, let's try that with the people that we do. You guys have listened to her on our podcast. Hopefully you guys have gone out and checked out her stuff before. Again, go out and buy something. Support financially if you can. Let's try to let our smaller businesses grow. Our brown-owned, black-owned, just our personally owned businesses. We want to help those grow. And we appreciate you guys for all your patronage and helping us. So we just want to pay it forward by doing the same with those that are a part of our circle and watch them grow. So please, let's go out. Let's go show some love and support her on her launch, because there's no better feeling than having a sellout feeling. And that's when you sell out everything. So let's go support that. We can do this.
Hey, all right. Let's bring us on back with a... Oh, hey, and we're back.
So let's talk about feelings. So we were talking about feelings just a second ago, right? So, man, everybody was caught up in their feelings recently with B.O.B and what was going on with B.O.B and what the things that he was saying at his concert, which set the world on fire.
Oh.
Now, when we say... I don't know if you guys heard. Did you guys hear about what B.O.B was saying?
Let's tell those who might not know what had happened. Me being one of them.
So he was at the Rolling Loud. He was doing Rolling Loud. And during his concert, he decides to do what he called a call to action. So, he's like, hey, man, if you all my peoples out there, put your cell phones up. Put your cell phone lights up. If you ain't dying from AIDS, if you ain't got AIDS or HIV right now, I'm about to die in 2 to 3 weeks, put your lights up. If y'all ain't out there sucking dick in the parking lots after the show, put your lights up. And going on so far and so forth about stuff like that, right? Yeah, man. It was crazy. And I hate the fact that I'm just repeating those things because it's just so... It's ridiculous that these things were coming out. Now, for me, it wasn't so much as just that what was said about that. It was the double down after. It was the explanation as to why he said it. Well, my fans out there, they ain't got AIDS. They ain't got HIV. They ain't out there dying like that. My fans is class. My fans don't do that. My fans take care of themselves. My fans is healthy. My fans aren't out there sucking in the parking lot. They're high class. They go to 5-star hotels. That's my fans is like that. They don't do that. And it's just like he's just digging that more and more and more, doubling down on it.
Yeah, digging that grave.
Now, but it's not even just. It doesn't stop there. Then finally, he's like not attacking people or trying to defend himself, being like, how is it that I'm just trying to voice my opinions and stuff like this, and I may not be that educated on stuff, but y'all should do do better with picking me up as opposed to just trying to tear me down and trying to cancel, and stuff like that. But also he's like setting up but going live and showing video of him just eating like he don't care about what's being said or what's going on. And then he started getting not canceled, but losing a bunch of shows. And I mean a lot of shows, like festival after festival after festival after festival, like days. Every day there was like a new festival he was getting dropped from. Artists were removing him from their songs. Even Kanye on the new Donda album took him off of the brand new song that album hasn't even dropped yet because of this, and it's all this. And then he finally issues an apology, which he didn't write, his publicist wrote, right? But also within the apology of, I'm sorry, I didn't really know about the weight of my words, or, I need to be educated more. Then he's like, not only just talk about him needing to be educated more, but then he's also saying like, but y'all over here attacking me and all this stuff like that, but y'all won't even sit there and take this time to educate me and help me because I don't know better, but y'all just going to attack me. It's like it flabbergasted.
I mean, the
only thing I could say was, bro, the first thing you said at your concert was bad. I got to say that was bad. But people could forgive that because sometimes we say things because we're caught up in the moment. We feel in ourselves. We're on a whole nother thing. Sometimes we say some things that are off color or shouldn't be said. People could forgive you if you just be like, yo, my bad, man. I need to do better, and I need to be better and do better, and I need to learn more. So I need to be educated on the things that I'm talking about. Maybe I shouldn't have said that. This is what I meant to do. It was a call to action, but it came out to be insensitive, whatever. That, and then apologize for that. That would have been more acceptable than the double down and the explanation. And I think that's what set everything off, was the double down and the explanation. So what are your thoughts with me bringing this up to you guys right now?
I mean, like as you said, like after the first thing that he said at the concert, I mean, essentially what people were doing was like, yo, that's not cool for you to say, like that's, and then tried to educate him. But like the thing that we would said it earlier, is in those spaces, you need to want to be educated. You need to want to be better. And because things like that, not even like there's so many things to address in that, like the vilification of homosexuality, the stamping of it being the oh man, I feel horrible even saying this, like being the gay disease or whatever it is. Like the fuck, it's the same thing that they try to do with heroin in the black community. It's the same shit they would try to do with weed with hippies. That's the same thing. Like they pinpoint some shit and then try to stamp it on that group to say, see, they're dirty and nasty and gross people, or they're bad people, and that's why you shouldn't be them and you shouldn't be like them. And like that's heavy in a lot of communities, like. And so to see that just kind of be doubled down upon, it seemed like he felt he was in the right in saying the way he was saying it without even trying to hear to begin with that it wasn't okay to say, And so like he didn't want that level of education. He wanted to just be right. And then immediately, because surprise, it's a fucking trigger word, canceling is now the thing. Like it's not canceling, it's consequences. Like I don't know how many times we gotta say this to everybody and their mama, better listen up. Like it's not fucking cancel culture, it is consequences. When people are trying to sit there and say, yo, this is not good, and they're doubling down on like, this is what I was saying, y'all should have been doing this. See, I don't give a fuck. Like, the only time he cared was when it started affecting his money. And then he had to issue an apology, of which, like you say, he didn't write. That was his publicist. So, like, this was something that, like, he didn't want to learn. he didn't want to grow. He didn't want to grow until it started affecting his money. But then he pulls out the cancel card and it's like, oh, they're trying to cancel me. Like, no, we're trying to show you the consequences for your actions. Means if you're going to be a bigoted, ignorant individual in the world and be unapologetically that, then you're going to have to deal with the consequences of being that kind of a person in this society that is not, that's fed up with that kind of shit. We're fed up with people having this quote fraternity, this toxic fraternity culture within their gaming company. Just because you think it's fun and everything, you're crawling underneath girls' skirts. Talking about Blizzard. Whether you're vilifying, we're not going to be okay with you, re-stereotyping and relabeling, HIV as the quote gay disease. We're not going to be okay with you making, Islamophobic, homophobic, transphobic, racially motivated, statements and just think you're going to get away with it because you had such a bright future. Well, if you say those things and you double down on it, then you're going to get the consequences that come from that. Right. Consequences can be good. Consequences can be bad. Just depends on what the fuck you put in. Like if you put in bad, it's going to come out bad, Right.
Carmichael, what are your thoughts on this?
I'm going to take the higher road because it's just, it's another thing to unpack, right? What came to mind was, the accountability, right? Just not accountable for those actions. Once you're not accountable and you continue to sabotage yourself, it's a self-inflicted wound. You feel embarrassed and, there's a level of expectation that, when you have these type of desires and you have an expectation that people owe you. No, nobody owes anybody anything, right? We're all here to serve each other. Right. It's sort of like you said, when people start putting stigmas with specific identities and labels, it's sort of like Stop Asian Hate, for example. Mm-hmm. There was a stereotype at one point when it was, Asians were, they're smart and they're mathematicians and computer whizzes. You never hear any gang violence or anything negative. Right. But now it's like, oh, they eat dogs, they have bats, and they have, whatever they're selling at the wet markets. You know what I mean? It's just now it's like this whole function of like Asians are dirty. Just saying it's a stigma, right? It manifests to other stigmas, right? And what that is, from his point of view, I'm just trying to see where he's coming from. Like he wants to be a king. That's cool, bro. Like be a king of your domain, but you have responsibilities. And some people you are a role model too. Even though if you don't want to have that label put upon you, people are paying for you to be a role model for you to be that. And there's other associations, i.e. Donda, right? That cuts you out quickly because if that doesn't translate to whatever word that they're translating to for this launch, they don't want to pick up there's no need to pick up somebody else's mess when they don't even want to clean their own backyard. And that starts from the backyard, right? Mm-hmm. He needs to clean up his mess. And that comes down to accountability. And it just so happened he self-sabotaged himself, and going back to what we're saying is stop putting out, like just sit quiet, sit still, listen to what's real rather than just like trying to get reaction. Like, is your music not good enough anymore to gain a reaction to the crowd? So you need to isolate people. You know what I mean? That's uncalled. That's uncalled for.
I found the clip. I want to play the clip, but I also wanted to play his response. But then again, I'm sitting here like I'm doing something that I'm not a fan of myself, and that's just trashing another person. Or promote it. And the thing is, but the reason why I'm bringing it up is I just really want people to understand, and Z, you hit on the head. It's not cancel culture, it's accountability. It's consequences. You both said the two main words that I wanted to talk about, which is why I'm bringing this up. Accountability and consequences. Everything we've talked about tonight all comes back down to accountability for your actions and consequences for what we're going to do.
Right.
Whether it's good, bad, or indifferent, they all come with consequences.
Right. Simone Biles could have had some.
I can't sit here.
I was gonna say Simone Biles could have had some very bad consequences for just going out and performing in the mental state that she was in. She could have injured herself, she could have crippled herself, or she could have killed herself. Or something. It could have been completely fine, but she felt like it was best weighted against said consequences to take care of herself. Sorry.
Exactly, and then Sha'Carri Richardson, taking full accountability for her actions, knowing exactly what was happening and what could have happened, but gave a very honest reason as to why, and that was, I can't hide myself while I'm hurting, so I needed to do something to hide that hurt. There's just so many things that are happening that people don't seem to understand. You have those women that are trying to take the high road to do the right thing and be accountable for their actions, but just be like, I need some help, or I need some space, or I need some time. And people are so opinionated, have so much to say. And then you have those that are the opposite. Now the reason why I'm bringing this one up too is because we talked about a Black female and how we need to protect her and everything else, and everything that's happened to her, we try to say it's just on that. But we're also looking at this Black man who said some very, very, very off-color, terrible things. And then he also is trying to play the victim card in a sense. And then some people even tried to come to his aid and defend him, i.e. T.I., for example, T.I., and just makes it even worse for himself. And it's just like, there's just so many different ways that we do this, but everybody's so busy talking and trying to defend and justify why they are right, or why what they did was okay, and why you need to just leave them be. And then if they're doing whatever is not right, then we want to play victim all of a sudden. Hey, stop. We just need to sit down and be quiet sometimes. Sometimes you just need to take a 2-week hiatus and recalibrate. And that's okay. Like, God's honest truth, I'm not really a fan of B.O.B. I don't really listen to his music, but I'll tell you this right now. I'm not going to cancel or hate this brother, but I'm just going to say, do better. And one way you could have done better was just say, I apologize for what I said. I need to learn. I need to educate myself. I'm going to take some time to do that. Don't tear me down because of my mistakes, but build me up so I don't continue to make them.
Kanye did the same thing. Remember when he broke down? Right?
Mm-hmm.
Same situation, right? So, that's why I put, instead of, it says lineage and legacy. It's not either or anymore. It's both.
Right.
Right. So, if you lineage to a sport of gymnastics and you want to create a legacy, applauds to you, Simone Biles. If you have a lineage and want to be hip hop, but you're trying to pave your own way of a legacy in modern day hip hop, that's not the way to go. Right. You got to go back to the roots of where it started and pay respects to the ones who paved the platform of hip hop for you. Those 16 bars were put there, and there's a foundation there. You can speak anything above that, but there's still a culture behind that.
Mm-hmm. Right.
It still needs to maintain its authenticity.
Right. And to close this out, I also just want to say I appreciate you, gentlemen. This was a very great conversation. We touched on a lot of different things, but what I personally took out of this was accountability, protecting yourself, protecting your peace, and being steadfast within yourself to know that you're doing the right thing for yourself, for the greater good of those around you.
For the good of all.
Thank you, my brother. Love you, bro.
And thank you, brother. Appreciate you. Appreciate both of you. Appreciate all of you that are listening. A question for the Discord. What was the thing you chose to do that to take care of your mental health when you felt like the wave of the world was crushing down on you?
Man, thank you to our Patreon. We appreciate each and every one of you guys for all of your patronage for the past year and these months. Thank you guys for your support and your understanding for our brief time off. Now you guys know what was going on, but we just want to allow that space for us to heal both mentally, physically, and emotionally. It's hard. It's hard out here, and we understand that, and we want to be there for you as well as for each other. So thank you guys for still remaining a part of our bar and coming out here and supporting. We love and appreciate each and every one of you guys that take the moment out of your day to either listen and or watch our show and spread our message and give us an opportunity to be a part of your lives. So we thank you so much for that. And yeah, we already got our Discord question. So please continue to support if possible and hit us up, man.
Yeah.
Holla at us. It'd be great to hear from you.
Absolutely. If you want to continue in this conversation outside of here, feel free to hit us up on Twitter or Instagram at Have a Drinkcast, and make sure to use the hashtag HADcast. You can also check us out on TikTok. We have our first TikTok video out. Also, Have a Drinkcast on TikTok as well. Make sure you use the hashtag HADcast on there, on anywhere. That way we can see whatever it is you post. You know, you can even show us the things that you love to do that bring you joy, that help you take care of your mental health during those hard times. Just throw the hashtag HADcast and we'll be right there. Carmichael, we appreciate you for coming on, brother. We appreciate you sharing your wisdom and your light as always. It's always amazing.
Congratulations are in order for you. Congratulations are in order for you.
For who?
And the new gym.
Oh, snap.
So
thank you.
I would like it. Please promote.
Yes.
Take a few minutes, promote. Go.
All right, Master Institute. This has been about a 10-year journey for me here to build Master's Math, Art, Science, Technology, Engineering, and Reading. It's a full-end curriculum utilizing martial arts and combat sports and fitness as a comprehensive program to take our next generation to become, I would call them watchmen and gatekeepers, which you guys both are, right? Is being able to watch over our people and our community and being gatekeepers of protection and saving, safety and security of our people. So that is what we're working to strive. The Master Institute, hopefully will one day, I just hopefully is a full institute that will allow for others to build careers in film, entertainment, fitness, and combat sports. So that is where we are right now. It's been a 10-year journey and just blessed to take it to this point as of right now. So everything that we have worked on through the decades together has now been put into a curriculum and courses, and now you get to do it all and choose your specialty, and hopefully you get a degree from us one day.
Shout out to Master Chad Cannon, by the way, who is one of the instructors there, or the main instructor there. That's all awesome. You're doing a great job, my brother. Keep
Beautiful.
It up. Man, big ups and a lot of props and prayers and love to you, to all those that are a part of the Masters Institute. And I need to make my way out there. Don't think I haven't thought about it. Just you guys have seen me on the road a lot recently. But yeah, I'm going to make my way out there. I want to go take a class.
Absolutely.
There you go. Beautiful.
All right,
We need masters at the Master Institute to teach master classes, to have masterminds like this.
Yes.
Well, I'm going to go take a masterminds class. I'm not a master yet. I'm still a student waiting to become one.
Hey, I'm always down to come and learn as well. All right. It's about that time.
About that time.
All right. Raise your glasses. Raise your glasses. All right, kings, queens, and royals in between, I want to thank y'all for joining us again on another successful episode of the Have a Drink podcast, where we invite y'all back to sit, think, and have a drink. That's been us. Peace.